Warren Buffett once said, "If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you will work until the day you die." Robert Kiyosaki once said, "The moment you make passive income and portfolio income a part of your life will change. These words will become flesh."
Hey guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Travis, and if you're new around here, I like talking about investing or anything to do with building wealth. If you want to hear more about topics like these, make sure to subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything, and if I say anything stupid during the video, you can always unsub at the end. So in this video, I wanted to review some of my favorite dividend-paying ETFs that I think will pay you a lot of money over your lifetime. The key with these funds is just simply don't sell them and hold on to them for a very long time. Dividend-focused ETFs are arguably the easiest way to make passive income. These assets require zero work and have nearly a 0% chance of failing due to how diversified they are. And the best part is, if you pick the right ETFs, that amount that you get paid in the form of those dividends will be slowly growing over time. Basically, you're going to get paid more and more money as time goes on. And really quick, just in case you don't know what an ETF is, buying an ETF is the equivalent of buying hundreds of stocks all in one. This is useful because it mitigates your risk. If one of these companies fails, it doesn't matter because the rest of the companies will continue to make you money. So to make this video, I looked through so many ETFs, but I was looking for a few very specific things. First, I wanted the overall value of the fund to be going up. Second, I wanted the total dividend payout to be growing. And third, I wanted it to already have a pretty large dividend. Additionally, I watched a ton of best dividend paying ETFs videos here on YouTube, and I truly believe that the funds in this video are some of the best out there. This list includes 4 of the best funds that I found, and at the very end, I'll tell you which one takes my top pick. That is, if I had to choose one. So let's jump into it. The first ETF for passive income is the Schwab Dividend Equity ETF, ticker SCHD. This fund tracks the Dow Jones US Dividend 100 Index, which selects high dividend yielding US stocks based on strong fundamentals. This fund also requires that all companies within it had to have paid out a dividend at least 10 years in a row. It has a dividend yield of 3.19% and pays these dividends out quarterly. It also has an average dividend growth rate of 12.09% over the last 5 years. That is a great growth rate. Just in case you don't know what that means that you're getting paid 12% more in the form of those dividends every single year. That's pretty damn good if you ask me. It's grown in value by 69% over the last 5 years, and on top of this great performance, its expense ratio is only 0.06%. And just in case you don't know what the expense ratio is, that's just simply how much you're charged each year for owning the fund. Meaning every year they're going to take 0.06% of what you have in that fund. Next, some of the top holdings in this fund include Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Texas Instruments, 3M, Qualcomm, Exxon, Verizon, and Altria. Its top 3 industries are financials, industrials, and consumer defensive. I personally think that these are 3 pretty reliable industries. If for some reason you're not a fan of this ETF, the next ETF on this list is very similar as far as numbers, but different whenever it comes to holdings and industries. The second ETF for generating passive income is Vanguard's High Dividend Yield ETF, ticker VYM. This fund tracks an index of US-based companies that are not REITs and then weights them by market cap. It has a dividend yield of 3.2% and pays out these dividends quarterly. It has an average dividend growth rate of 6.22% over the past 5 years, which isn't the best, but it's not bad. Honestly, this is the one weakness of this fund. It's grown in value by about 40% over the past 5 years, and on top of this great performance, it only has an expense ratio of 0.06%. Its top holdings include J&J, Chase, P&G, Verizon, Comcast, Bank of America, Coke, Pepsi, and AT&T. Basically, this fund is made up of your classic dividend-paying stocks. Its top 3 industries include financials, consumer defensive, and healthcare. If I'm honest, I'm not very bullish on healthcare, but that's just my personal opinion. One thing that I will say is that this fund is a lot more diversified as far as industries than SCHD. Its top 3 industries only make up about 51% of the fund compared to SCHD's 62%. The third ETF for generating passive income is iShares Core Dividend Growth ETF, ticker DGRO. This has the lowest dividend yield out of all the funds on this list with a dividend yield of 2.45%. But the reason that I included it on this list is because it has great growth potential, especially for a dividend-focused ETF. Not only does it pay a pretty good dividend, but it's grown 85% over the past 5 years. That's almost as much as the S&P 500. That is extremely rare for funds that are focused on dividends. This fund requires the companies within the fund to have increased their dividend for at least 5 years in a row. This isn't a massive dividend history, but to be honest with you, I think that's a good thing. It gives them the freedom to add up-and-coming companies to the fund. So let's go over the numbers. It has a dividend yield of 2.45% and pays out these dividends quarterly. It has an average dividend growth rate of 10.10%, which is really strong. And again, it's grown in value by approximately 85% over the past 5 years. That's the highest growth rate out of any of the funds on this list. On top of this great performance, it only has an expense ratio of 0.08%. This is a little bit higher than the other funds on this list, but this is still a great number. Its top holdings include Apple, Microsoft, Chase, J&J, Verizon, P&G, Pfizer, Home Depot, Cisco, and Merck. I actually love the companies within this fund. Out of its top 10, I don't think there's a single company that I really don't like. This is another reason why I really felt like this fund belonged on this list. Its top 3 industries are financials, technology, and healthcare. I'm personally very bullish on both financials and technology. If you don't mind a slightly lower dividend because of its growth, I think this would be a great ETF for you. If you want an alternative to this fund and something similar, you could check out a fund called Noble, ticker symbol NOBL. It requires all of the companies within the fund to have increased their dividend for at least 25 years or longer. But if I'm being honest, DGRO is better. The fourth and final ETF for generating passive income is Investco's S&P 500 High Dividend Low Volatility ETF, ticker SPHD. This ETF has the largest dividend yield out of all of the funds on this list, but it also has the lowest growth out of all the funds on this list. This fund tracks an index that selects the least volatile and highest yielding stocks from the S&P 500. It has a massive dividend yield of 4.79% and pays these out monthly, not quarterly, which is really nice. It has an average dividend growth rate of 9.6% over the past 5 years, which again is really impressive. But unfortunately, this is where things get disappointing. It's only grown in value by 16% over the past 5 years. Additionally, it has a decently high expense ratio of 0.3%. This isn't horrible, but it's not great. Its top holdings include Dow, Iron Mountain, International Paper, Altria, Lumen, Exxon, and Voronado, and a bunch of other companies that you've probably never heard of. Its top 3 industries are utilities, real estate, and technology. The fact that the fund is very heavy on utilities and real estate doesn't really surprise me, just because those 2 industries tend to be very heavy on dividends. If you guys can't tell, this is actually my least favorite ETF on this list, but I included it because I knew a ton of you guys would really want a very, very high dividend yielding ETF on this list. This one, in my opinion, is probably the best option if you want to go that route. So that's my list. Now that I've given you my top 4 options, now I need to tell you which one takes the top spot. If you're simply looking for the best dividend-paying ETF, I have to go with SCHD. The truth is that it was nearly a tie between VYM and SCHD. It really just depends on what you're looking for. The tiebreaker for me personally was that SCHD simply has a much higher dividend growth rate, and on top of that, I prefer the industries that it focuses on. So in summary, the dividend yield is good, the dividend growth rate is really good, the expense ratio is extremely low, and I prefer the sectors that it focuses on more than the diversification that VYM offers. But the good news is, if you prefer VYM or some other fund, it doesn't matter because you don't have to choose just one. You could just choose one, or you could mix and match. If you disagree with my selection for the top spot, that would not surprise me at all. I actually made a poll to see which funds you guys preferred, and 57% of you preferred VYM. Now, if you're a person that has a job and you don't rely on these dividends, I might actually go with DGRO. I think the growth potential of that fund is a lot better than the rest of the funds on this list, and will make up for the slightly lower dividend yield. And on top of that, the dividend growth rate is really high, so that dividend payout should grow a lot over time. So that's my list of the best dividend paying ETFs. I fully expect these funds to make you a lot of money over your lifetime. Also, I want to talk to you about one last thing before I end the video. When you're doing research on a topic like this, you're going to see that there are funds out there that will pay you as much as a 10% dividend yield. There's a reason why I did not include any of those funds on this list. These funds are basically the equivalent of a dog chasing its tail. On one side, they'll pay you a 10% dividend, but then the value of the fund will decrease 10%. Or even more likely, they'll pay you a 10% dividend, and then the fund will decrease 15% in value. Second, usually the companies within these funds are extremely unstable. There's a reason why their stock price is low enough to pay you a 10% yield. For example, and I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but whenever Exxon was really struggling a couple months ago, its dividend yield got up to something like 10 or 12%. Extremely high. And the reason that its dividend yield was so high was because the price of the stock was so low. I hope that makes sense. For example, if you look at a fund with the ticker SDIV, the Super Dividend ETF, it has a dividend yield of around 7%, but it lost a whopping 30% in value over the past 5 years. Even if you don't include the losses that were incurred during the pandemic, the returns on this fund just simply are not good. Basically, you're going to be losing just as much as you're gaining. So, thank you guys so much for watching. If you're interested in the best dividend paying stocks, make sure to check out this video. By the way, just so you understand how I personally invest, I just invest where I can find value in the market. Meaning right now I don't specifically target dividend paying stocks or funds. At my age and stage of life, I don't necessarily need passive income, but if I did, these are some of the funds that I would be buying. I only say this because I want to be transparent. I truly believe if you're not honest, it costs you in the long run. Basically, if I'm truthful, I can't get caught in a lie. So, thank you guys for watching. I really hope that I made you some money today. Definitely subscribe to my channel. I'm still a very small YouTuber, so every subscription that I get seriously makes my day. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Attention young men and women, subscribe to Travis White's channel. He needs your help to defeat the evil, broke YouTuber depression.